There's been another cheating scandal. Yes, another one. There's always someone supposedly cheating. Just to clarify, I'm talking about the cheating scandal surrounding the 500 player Oxygen. After a close loss to 500, bait player Kingt shared a number of clips on Twitter of Oxygen's play on Mirage. Not all the clips came from the game that had just been played, but a number of other recent Mirage maps which 500 played in. The clear implication of Kingt, as well as a number of other pros in the replies and those who likely retweeted, is that Oxygen was using some form of external assistance to determine his opponent's locations. I reviewed the clips briefly on the following Monday's Retake the Week, finding very little to be excited about. He's literally just clearing his spots. Okay, that's his job, is to run around and clear that. Next one. Since then, things have escalated. Oxygen has made a public statement, defending himself and saying he's received threats since that tweet was posted. Now, I want to see if there is any conclusive evidence that Oxygen is actually cheating, or if we're putting out these tweets endangering a player's safety for no good damn reason. Let's begin with the clips on Twitter, which have accrued over 1.2 million views. Are you tired of looking like a noob in game? Sick of having the same old crappy skins? Check out Skin Club via my link in the description for a 7% deposit bonus. For gamers 18 or older, Skin Club is a case opening service who run a provably fair opening algorithm to give you truly random outcomes. Skin Club's battles mode has been upgraded, adding new things like crazy, team, and share modes just to make every roll a little more intense and a little more fun. I played a battle or two and managed to win some pretty crazy skins, and upgraded a group of them into a gorgeous MP9 hot rod. Perfect for some gold stickers. Skin Club accept a wide variety of payment methods, from cards and PayPal to skins themselves, as well as a range of crypto coins. Remember to play responsibly using the self-care tools provided, and use my link in the description to get a 7% bonus. A big thank you to Skin Club for supporting my channel, but let's get back into the video. The first clip comes directly from the bait match. Oxygen is the point player, charges straight out of main, and clears very little whilst fixating on Dark. He kills the CT with an easy headshot. The second clip is from earlier in the bait match. Oxygen jumps out of main, avoiding the CT AWP before hard clearing Sandwich. He finds a CT and kills him easily. The third clip is from a map against Partisan. A nade hits 500 at ramp, Oxygen peeks, pre-aiming a CT, and headshots him. The fourth is from that Partisan map too. Oxygen comes out of main and is fixated on default, where Emmy is sitting, and kills him. It goes on like this for a bit longer, with Kingt going into some demos to find more clips he finds suspicious. There are examples from games against Sashi and Namiga too. Suffice it to say, if you look at these clips, and these clips only, you can only really conclude things look a bit suspicious, and honestly, a lot of people have looked at the clips and just decided Oxygen's probably cheating. How else could he be looking in all of these places? In reality, this does not prove that Oxygen has external assistance at all. Unfortunately, no matter how suspicious the clip, no matter how suspicious the group of clips, you can't take them at face value. There are more coincidences than we'd like in life, and it's easy to make any player look sus when you take a selected few rounds out of context. What needs to be done is an actual review of the demos, to see what Oxygen's doing on every A execute, not just the ones highlighted in these clips. We need to understand Oxygen's pathing and progression as an A entry. Not only this, but we need to look at the execute as a whole, understand what's being cleared, what's covered, and what the objective is. We can then address which clips are sus and which are not, based on what we've discovered. There are actually two executes under scrutiny here. One we shall call the pop. These are the rounds where Oxygen, often unadorned by utility, goes straight up the ramp after the CT molly expires. The other we shall call the exec. On these rounds, Oxygen throws a smoke and a molly before entry. Here's the pop. The first step is the mid smokes, one in window and one in connector. Basic info denial, and it baits teams into lingering for an extra second or two in the mid default. Ships does a running jump throw on the flash for CT, followed by a jungle smoke and a flashbang that goes out over stairs. The entry pack comes out of main, sticking close to the entrance of Tetris and stairs. Oxygen has a typical progression for this pop, checking top stairs, bottom stairs, check the CT triple line, clearing Sandwich, checking sight or dark, whilst avoiding the second ship's flash, and then facing connector. The pop is meant to isolate the comp player and create an easy kill for the T side. Built into the pathing, the progression used is Oxygen clearing dark quite late into the pop, whilst also technically being anti-flash for the con flash. It's a well-designed and well-rehearsed strat. The pop is where the majority of the clips come from, but I feel like we have to also talk about the exec just to get some more context on how 500 play the A bomb site. This is the exec. 2 smokes, 1 for stairs, and 1 fully connecting to block off connector and jungle's sightlines. 2 molotovs, 1 for sandwich, and 1 to prevent a smoke push. Cirque also throws a pair of flashbangs over to cover the exit. On the palace side, 1 more molotov is thrown, and it bounces into dark. The pack, consisting typically of 3 players rather than the 4 found on the pop, come out of ramp with only sight and CT to clear directly. This exec isn't as explicit in what it's trying to achieve. They often run this one when facing lower economy and trying to stall out, wait for counter aggressions, counter pushes, hence that extra molotov next to the smokes they just threw. It's not as pretty of a strat in my eyes, but it still is a part of their game, and it's something they do use every now and then. Okay, let's get into what the demos actually showed, and I'm going to start with all the clips because, well, some of them need to be addressed directly because they're quite easy to line up and knock down. The easiest ones are the partisan clips. From this demo, there are 2 allegedly suspicious clips from A executes. On both of these, Emmy is the problem. He's throwing utility from the spot he's playing and then just sitting there, like his opponent's vision is movement based. There's a sound cue given from default on this clip. He throws a nade, then stands still. And not only that, he jump throws a nade, giving us multiple chances to hear him moving. In this clip, Emmy throws a nade. It follows a straight trajectory, which can be read and then peeked against. That's what Oxygen does, and he finds Emmy sitting there like a lemming and takes his head off. In the summary of these clips, really, Emmy gives away his position, he gets killed. There's not much to do here, so you can save your little sarcastic line, your little comment, and just play the A site better, mate. It's not that hard. Next, the Sashi clip. This one's actually pretty understandable if you just pay attention to what's going on. When Rainwaker throws his Molotov for under, a standard part of his execute, Altex tries to throw a counter molly of his own. This is audible, and Oxygen paths to check underneath and headshots him. The sound cues are hard to catch, but they're often the key as to why a player is doing something. Another part of this that sort of exonerates Oxygen, if you will, is if he knew where the players were situated, why did he not continue to check for the second player? There are 2 players playing dark or just above dark next to Palace, and yet he seems completely fine with moving on after having found 1. On to bait, where we have a particularly odd objection. Why did he jump? The one time there's an AWPer, he jumps. And for this one, we need to refer back to the exec breakdown. There is a flash thrown to cover CT when they actually push out. This flash is early. It's slight, but it's noticeable. Especially if you've run the exec 100 times like these people have in officials. The jump works for 2 reasons. Firstly, it makes it harder for the AWPer to hit the shot, and secondly, it can act as a form of acceleration to try and catch up to the actual timing the pop needs. Following that, the sandwich check is actually quite standard. There are a number of examples of this being used and not finding fruit, including this instance on LAN. Then finally, there's the matter of how Alex666 plays the A-bomb site. When you go in and watch the games that Bait have played on Mirage just before this one, you'll notice these trends. Alex666 loves to play in sandwich when the AWP is at ticket. He also has a tendency to play under dark and on top of stairs, typically avoiding the middle of the site. With all of this in mind, we now understand exactly why this peak makes sense, why he took it, and why the kill is so free. This clip from the 9 Pandas game is absolutely nothing, to be honest. He checks the standard checks, progresses all the way through the bomb site, finds no one, and clears the back of triple. It's pretty much the only option left. There's nothing actually suspicious in this round. This is just a product of having X-ray on. I don't find this one convincing at all. The more astute amongst you will have noticed that I showed a clip, but I never broke it down during my classic easy dismissals. Now this round comes with the score at 12-11. It's an A-pop. Oxygen paths aggressively towards dark and executes Alex666, who sits there. This clip is by far the most suspicious. Even if you have watched the demos, the odds of you having found an explanation for this one within this demo itself are slim to none. There is nothing in this demo that would indicate this pathing would be usually used. Now I can actually still explain it, but the fact that it takes me extra time, I have to put forward multiple theories, and at the end of it I still think it all sounds a little unconvincing. It's why I think it's the best round you can use to make an accusation. Now the pathing is rarely seen in the demos. It's not actually never seen, but it happens very rarely. Now the first occasion that we've actually already seen is against Sashi when he kills Altex. But I just gave you a reason why he did that, and that was off sound cue. There's no sound cue to rely on here. That's fair enough. Second part of this is that it's actually a pathing used on occasion when clearing under specifically, and from a recent map we actually do have an example of this. He dies before he can actually complete it, but if you watch the path he takes, he's clearly veering aggressively towards dark, rather than sticking to the edge of Tetris and the stairs. This is a critical moment with the score in the balance, and we see Oxygen absolutely locked in on a position that is being used. It would be more conclusive if we didn't know that Alex666 plays here. I mentioned this earlier. The prep, when you actually watch the demos of Bait, tells you that Alex666 likes to play here. And this seems like an absolute soul read, a gamble, just to try and take this map before getting to overtime. It's a critical moment, and Oxygen gets the kill, and that's what you should be focusing in on if you're trying to accuse him of anything, because I've watched the demos. I'm just going to show you. This is my demos folder right now. I've watched a lot of 500 playing Mirage. This is the most suspicious thing that's happened. And I've watched a lot of clips of this A pop, of the A execute. I've seen them tear teams apart whilst only touching the A site once. This was the worst clip I could find. And I tried to find something else that came even close. Nothing did. So if you want to accuse him of anything, this is your best shot. And even still, I personally don't see it. Now, I've gone through the demos, I've seen the clips, and I've read some arguments put forth. I mean, most of the time, there's no actual argument. There's no case made. We just have isolated clips. No one seems to have done what I've done and actually gone through every demo they could get their hands on and watch to find reasons why this should or shouldn't be considered suspicious. I can give you iteration after iteration of the same execute, showing pathings that don't work, showing paths that do work, different reasons why they've worked and not worked. Instead, we just have isolated clips and a raised eyebrow, and we're expected to treat that like solid evidence. All in all, for me, it doesn't scream cheater. Why? Well, not just in terms of what I've presented, in terms of, the demos themselves, what 500 have as anti-material, how 500 like to play their games, but also logically. There have been zero clips, even just eyebrow raise, seems suspicious, clips shared from any other map. What kind of external assistance only works on Mirage? What kind of external assistance is veto dependent? Seems rather pointless to me. Now, Oxygen has had a productive time on Mirage recently, although to be honest, that has been more the case of 500 having a productive time than Oxygen himself directly. When the team gets it wrong, he oftentimes has an abysmal score on Mirage. The main execute that 500 are using is a direct counter to the heavy mid meta we have on Mirage. Now, of course, it's foundational Counter-Strike. Take map control, then progress. But it's become so extreme on Mirage that they're using 2 smokes to maintain that attention, create the illusion, and then just running a pop out A. And is it really that different to what we see teams doing on Ancient? No. Such a mid-dominant map, we've seen teams, a number of different teams, throwing mid fakes just to get players out on A, take free space, take easy shots, because they only have a certain number of things to clear. On Ancient, we're leaving the entire bomb site empty. Mirage, we still have an anchor who's going to be sitting around, but they've reduced the options significantly with the exec they run. They have so many numbers running in, they can actually afford to have players hard checking things for no reason. On all of these pops, there's usually one player just sat holding a straight line, just waiting for someone to counterpeek. Stylistically, this fits 500 perfectly because, honestly, running exec after exec for the same bomb site whilst ignoring the rest of the map in its entirety, sending zero manpower or anyone else, has been the way not necessarily just 500, but teams featuring this Bulgarian core have played for a long, long time. I remember going through demos of Skade featuring some of these players and seeing them execute A on Mirage, just as an example, 4 or 5 rounds in a row. They're still doing that to this day. The fingerprints are all over it. Whilst this can get predictable, readable, boring, it reduces variability greatly and minimizes what actually needs to be done, not just in terms of on the server with where you have to look, what you have to throw, what you have to be aware of, but it also simplifies the prep they have to do going into opponents. You need to read the tendencies of one player, the A anchor, and you can pretty much kill him every time for free. The ease of reading the other team in this context is what I was referring to with Alex666. It took me a couple of demos, and I didn't even download the demos. I just went through the VOD on Twitch, just skipping through the CT rounds and watching his tendencies. They were clear as day. This isn't the first time a player has been accused of cheating, and it won't be the last. In fact, some of the names in the replies to Ken Caesar's tweets have had these accusations leveled at themselves too, and often with equally weak evidence. So now, unless they have some kind of confession ready to go, they should know better. As a scene that has harassed and bullied players to taking extreme lengths just to prove their innocence, we should be past this. I know that pros get frustrated by the lack of a anti-cheat that's actually invasive onto systems and the lack of an effective investigative body to go and find cheaters and match fixers. That doesn't justify whipping out the pitchforks every time a player checks the right corner. Do the demos look weird? Yeah, this is 500. They play a really weird style. You know who else does? About half the teams in Tier 2 who occasionally have streaks of consistent winnings. It's nothing new. It's happened before, it'll happen again. I don't think there's anything to see here. Let's put this one to bed. Alright, if you enjoyed, leave a like, leave a comment, tell me your thoughts on Oxygen's play. If you've actually watched the Mirage demos, then feel free to put forth any counter arguments. If you haven't watched the Mirage demos, get fucked. Honestly, if all you've seen is those clips, you can suck it. Sub if you want to see more content, and remember that members get access to a bunch of bonus content, the right to vote, etc, etc. Alright, thank you for watching. See you in the next one. Goodbye.